Welcome to this overview of Data Optimizer. Data Optimizer is a relational database program and is capable of both reading from external tables and writing to external tables. All this can be achieved without any knowledge of programming whatsoever. I have the program open at the moment. You may care to follow along with the PDF help document. I will try and keep to the same format. With the program being open, a list of available tables is displayed in the yellow shaded area on the left hand side, and at the top we have various action buttons. Not all of these are enabled at any point in time, but they will become available as the applicable section is needed. I'm going to open up this sales invoice items table, and when we click on that, a grid is opened. Each particular row in the grid represents a particular record, and the field names are described at the top of each column. So we'll go ahead and select a particular record. I'm going to click on Edit. When we click on Edit, a list of fields will drop down on the right hand side, and any fields that are related to external tables will have the drop down arrow input available. We look at the product field, which has wheelbarrow at the moment. When we select that, the applicable record is highlighted. We can select whatever we like. If we were to select a hammer drill, the associated record is looked up based on our file relations that we have defined, and the sell price changes, and all the calculated fields also change. I won't change the table, we'll just back out of the cancel edit using the cancel edit button, and we're back to the full display. I wanted to draw your attention to some of these other buttons as well as edit. Of course, we have new for a new record, to insert a record at the current position, delete a record, copy a record that exists, such as this particular record, to a new record, and various other functions. But I wanted to touch now on this two filter buttons, a filter by example and filter extended. First of all, filter by example. If we select a particular cell and click on filter by example, the only applicable record shown will relate to that particularly selected cell, and that was Smith Constructions. If we cancel that filter, we're back to the total display of records. If we select a particular date and click on filter by example, we'll only display records with that particular date. So that's your filter by example button. Filter extended brings more extensive filtering facilities. There are up to 4 sets of filters that can be defined within a particular table. We'll have set 1 selected, from value is selected, and that's a selection of from or to values. We'll select date, and we'll select the starting date of the April the 1st. Select the to button, select an ending date of April the 9th. Now, when I go to select another set of items, we'll go to set 2, you can notice that this and all field drops in. I'm going to change that to all, and in this particular case we're going to select product. I'll select the value of metal toolbox to, we'll make it to the hammer drill. So over here we have a summary of what we have selected. That is a date between April the 1st and April the 9th, or a product of metal toolbox to a hammer drill. Now, as I said, 4 particular sets. We're just using the first 2 for this example. Having set up the parameters, we click on Execute Filter. You can see now that this particular selection has been sorted on date and finishing in the end date, but of course we also include anything that's a metal toolbox to a hammer drill, and that's why on the 3rd of March we have this hammer drill being shown. Whilst it's outside the group of dates, it is an OR join, so the hammer drill is being displayed. And similarly beyond the 9th, April the 9th, we have a few of these others, but they're only metal toolbox through to hammer drill. I'll cancel that filter, so that covers the extended filter. We'll now click on the Show Chart button, which displays, in this particular case, because we removed the filter, all records. Now it defaults to the first Non-numerical value being the label value and the first numerical field being the data field. We can of course change these default values. If we change that to product, we're now displaying it by the label of the product type. And if we change that to, we'll say total, we've now got the particular values being displayed here in numeric tabulated data, but this is the graphical data. Now we're working in a windowed mode here, so obviously these graphs are not the full size of the screen to keep the size of the video to a reasonable size. If we were to change it to a pie chart, a little bit cluttered, but if we took it out to full screen, that obviously will open up. Go back to bar chart, and we'll hide the chart for the moment. So a few other buttons whilst we're at it. At the top, the move up and move down buttons simply move records up and down. So it's changing the order of records. Print document is a special button which will print documents such as an invoice or an order or an estimate. Now there are certain keywords which trigger the ability to print documents, because with this type of document we're printing the your own company data, the master record being like an invoice header or a estimation header, and associating it with a supplier or a customer. So certain keywords which are highlighted in the help manual will trigger this particular type of display, and there is an example of it in the help document. The print grid does exactly what it describes, and that is it prints the contents of your grid, whether it be filtered, unfiltered, or even grouped, which we'll cover in a moment. The print window, of course, will display the current window, whether there's a graph showing or not. It will simply print an exact copy of the current window. The help will display your help file. The about button displays information relating to the current version number, and of course your exit button on the right. Moving down to the bottom, I wanted to draw your attention to this line here. It says click on the required column before making a selection below, and that is because whatever cell you select, it relates to a particular column upon which any of these buttons will have action on. So if we select aggregates, you can see it's dropped down the bottom of cell price. Well, we in actual fact will select total price, and we'll select a total. Now that can be an average, it can be a maximum, can be a minimum, can even be a count of records for a non-numerical field. We'll move over here and select number. I'll select total there. So what we are doing now is showing the total number of sales and the total value of sales for all items, because we're not using a filter at this stage. I wanted to now talk about the group by button. This is a particularly powerful feature of Data Optimizer. If we were to select a product to group by, and any particular item in that column can be selected, and click on the group by button, we have now grouped by each particular product, and you can see that we have the list of the products and the total down below in the green row. If we were to collapse all groups, you can see the power of this particular button. It does actually group by particular by that particular column that we have nominated. We can open up any of these columns by simply pressing the show group button, and that will display all the individual records within that group. If we show all groups, of course we're back to where we started. Now the particular feature of this one is the show chart. If we went back to show chart, you can see now that the chart shows us in the groups of each individual item. So it's a very powerful feature. I'll hide that chart, and I wanted to show you the subgrouping. You can also create a second level of grouping, and if we select customer and click on subgroup, you can see now that we have each individual item subgrouped by particular customers. And if we collapse the subgroups, collapse all subgroups, you can see now that we have the groups and the subgroups only showing. Once again, if we go out and select show chart, you can see now that we have the subgroups showing in the chart additionally. I'll hide that chart. So overall, it's a very, very powerful feature. I'll now go and cancel all the grouping altogether, and now we're just simply back to the original display with just the totals for the number of items sold and the value of items sold. A couple of other items I'll touch on now, and that is the hide column. We can hide any column simply by clicking on the column and then clicking on the hide column button. And if we select sell price and hide column, maybe cost price and hide column, you can see that we're slowly narrowing down the display, and we've now got 8 or 9 columns displayed. Click on show all columns to go back to the original display. And I forgot to tell you, but in the show chart situation there, where we're just showing a couple of columns, you can go back to the full column display, even though it's in a bit of an you'll need to use the horizontal scroll box to display everything there. Now, only 2 buttons left to discuss in this overview, and we'll have a look at them by going into a different table. So I'm going to click on the show tables. We'll go into the contacts where there is an email address. And I wanted to show you, by highlighting an email address and clicking on email, your default email client will open. If we click on new email, the contents of that cell is automatically copied, and if you right click and just click on paste, you will have that email address automatically set up to use your email client. So that's quite a handy feature relating to any cells that contain email addresses. We won't save those changes at the moment, but I'll just go back onto one other item that I wanted to show you, which related to websites. And we'll click this particular record, and if I was to just widen that column a bit by dragging the column size out a little bit, having had a particular website highlighted in any of your records, if you click on the view button, so make a liar of me now, click on the view button, it will bring up the particular website that's described in the cell. So another very handy item. There are other uses for that view button. If you have any particular item within a cell, it might be the a particular file spec. It could be a graphic such as a picture. If you click on it, will bring up your default photo viewer. It might even be a Word document. If you click on the document name, it will open up your Word processor. So a very handy use for that view button, as we mentioned. Well, that just about completes this overview tutorial. I will go back and show you more items, particularly these items here, which are your housekeeping files, which relate to defining file relationships, I should say relationships between tables. But that will be the subject of the next tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed this, and please refer to the help document for any further elaboration. Thank you for your attention.